Hello and welcome to Fayfinders, a Dungeons & Dragons podcast navigating listeners into the vague and supernatural. My name is Ashley Elizabeth and I am the Dungeon Master for campaign Voyage. And today we're doing another one-on-one! Woohoo! I know we left you on a cliffhanger last time, but Sam shared a part of Crysellia's backstory that also happened to be the one-on-one. So don't blame me, I don't make the rules here. Yes, I do. So let's hop into it. You stand on the deck of a beautiful light pine wood ship with magnificent white sails. Sea salt air fills your lungs, and you faintly feel the slight rock of the ship. You watch a seagull swoop and land on one of the top masts. A sign, Airdrie Fania, is watching over you and your clan. The ship you are on is called Watcher of the Seas, and everyone from your Druidic circle is here tending to their stations, except for the younger kids, ages 7 to 9, who are, as kids do, running a chaotic muck about the ship. You and your friend Coral have been put in charge of watching these kids and getting them to settle down so you can tell them about the great and wonderful sea beast you and your clan are off to see today. Let's try round them up and wear them down with maybe like a game or something so we can keep them focused later.
Okay, so let's go and get the special stones and build the stone pyramids. It's the best game to do on the boat. We can build our own little boat on a boat.
Excellent idea. I'll make sure you're in charge of that because that's more like your game. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So there are four of these kids running around. You can see Jen May, who's trying to climb the mast to the crow's nest. There's Pribin, who is running down below deck, and Trabin and Olfin, who are not in your line of sight.
Okay, so I go up to the mast and start climbing to grab, sorry, I forget her name already.
Jen May.
Anne May. Okay, so I go up and start climbing after her and say, well, what are you doing up there? That is not where you're supposed to be. Come on, we're gonna go.
I'm climbing so high. I'm going to go so high. I'm gonna go all the way up and I'm gonna go past into the sky.
Oh my gosh, you know what? One day we'll all be able to fly and then you can go and soar like all the seagulls all the way above the clouds and you can just soar and hang out and enjoy yourself for the rest of your days. But for right now, you're just a little bit too small. So let's go back down and we're gonna go play a game and hang out. Me and Coral are playing with the pretty stones that we've collected, and we're all gonna make little boats.
Make persuasion check.
Do a persuasion.
Okay.
I got 14.
Okay, that sounds pretty cool. I'll make a ship, and she starts to climb down.
Perfect. Let's go. Okay.
So you two climb down, and Coral kind of like has a little box. She went off and grabbed a box of stones, and why don't you wrangle them up? I'll keep them preoccupied so we don't lose them while we're trying to get all of them together.
Okay, cool. So Crysellia starts walking over to go below deck to find the other child. Okay, so I go below deck. Can I see where this kid is hiding or
Roll an investigation
okay.
check.
I got 15.
You look around and you're like, okay, where is Pribin? Where is this little child? Where'd he go? And you hear a little and you find him behind one of the crates, and he's sitting there, and he's like, shh, shh, shh. We're
Okay.
playing hide and seek.
Okay. Um so I walk up to Priven and I say, "Who are you playing hide and seek with?"
Myself.
Just yourself? Okay. Well, would you like to play with the rest of us? We're going to go and make the little sailboats out of our precious stones.
I mean, like, I, could we like play hide and seek later at least?
Yeah, of course we can play hide and seek later, but it will be much more fun when there's someone who's going to come and find you.
Okay, pinky promise.
Pinky promise. And I pinky promise the child.
You two cross your little fingers, and you lead him back up shit back to Coral. So you have Pribin and Genmei, but you don't know where Trabin and Ulfin are.
Okay. Can I roll like an insight to see where I think that they might be, like where they usually hang out?
Sure.
Cool. I got 22. I am
Yeah,
proficient in the insight.
you are proficient in the children's habits. Uh, Trabin all week has been sneaking into the kitchen to get food. So it's a good guess that he's probably there. And
Okay.
Ulfin has. He's very curious to see what is beyond the bow of the ship, to an alarming rate, and people get very concerned when they do not know where Ulfin is.
Okay, cool. So we'll go find Ulfin first then. If we're pretty sure that Traven is safe and he's hanging out in the kitchen, he can wait. So I go. I'm like, oh, maybe I should go to the bow and figure this out because maybe this isn't so good if we don't know where he is. So I rush over to the bow of the ship and I start looking around and I kind of like peer over the side and I'm trying to find him.
You head to the bow, and the Jaboom, which is kind of like the part of the bow that just kind of continues off where people can't really walk on. You see Ulfin, who is like scooting up the Jaboom.
Okay, cool. So I would like to call out to him and say, okay, Ofen, this isn't very safe. I don't know how good of a swimmer you are just yet, so maybe you should come back. You know, we're gonna go play a game with all your friends. It's gonna be lovely. Maybe you want to come back.
I'm gonna go all the way. I'm gonna go all the way, and then like a dolphin's gonna pick me up, and it's gonna be like really cool.
Okay, but Olfin, we don't swim with dolphins right now. Our swimming with dolphins isn't scheduled until 2 more days when we get to our destination, so you can wait a little bit longer. How about you come back and we'll go play? And Crysellia's like a little bit nervous, like, oh, if this child falls off, she's gonna get in so much trouble. She's not having a good time right now. She's very stressed out.
Make a persuasion check.
I got 15.
Okay. He's like, 2 days, and we get to see the dolphins.
2 days, and I promise you 100% you get to swim with the dolphins.
Oh, okay. And he's gonna try and make his way back, and I'm gonna roll to see how he does. Okay. Um, he's really good at scooting forward, but he's not all that great scooting backwards. And he's going real slow, but he's almost slipping at parts. Um, if you like, you can try and scoot a bit down the jaboom to try and grab him.
Actually, can I roll with no damage? Can I use my thorn whip to like lasso him? Because one of the things for thorn whip is that you can like pull someone 10 feet closer to you. So can I roll with no damage, or does it have to be like.
We'll say, there's not really any thorns, like, or anything like that around here. There's seaweed. So seaweed doesn't really, totally damage unless you kind of get some of the deeper ones, that are a bit more coarse and all that. So you probably, I'll say you can use, seaweed and grab him and bring him closer to you.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna roll to lasso the child back to me.
All right.
And I got a 16.
That definitely grabs the child. He is shaking at this point. He was so nervous about scooting backwards that he slips, and you, without even thinking, you quickly raise some seaweed out of the water and you grab him and you bring him onto the deck. And he's like kind of shaking, and then he looks at the seaweed and then looks at you. Like, that was awesome!
Yeah, maybe when you're older I'll teach you how to do this, but for now, can you please not go on the bow? Please don't climb out without somebody around to help you.
I am definitely not good at scooting backwards.
Yeah, maybe we should practice that before you do it again.
Yeah, okay, that sounds cool. Is that Coral over there?
Yeah, let's go and play now with your other friends. We're gonna go and make some stone boats with our precious stones.
Okay, so you lead Olfin back over to Coral. So now you have Genmei, Pribin, and Olfin all together. Now you just have to go get Trabin.
Yes. So I am like, okay, cool. I know that he's for sure in the kitchen. That sounds great. So Crysellia starts walking down to the kitchen. She gets there and she's kind of like, oh, I know this child's favorite food is pickled plums. So she goes right over to the barrel, um, and she starts looking there.
You go right over the pickled plums, and like it doesn't even take you a second because you go over and you look behind it, and there is Trabin just like his mouth is so purple and the area around it from these pickled plums. And he looks so sick, but he's still like shoving them
Oh
in his mouth.
no. Okay, cool. So Cryselia goes like, um, hey Traven, what are you doing down here?
I'm eating. I mean, I'm
Okay,
not
well, you
eating.
look like you might be done now. So how about we put those down and you can come and hang out with your friends, and we're gonna make little stone boats out of our precious stones, and it's gonna be really really fun. Do you want to come and play with us now instead of making yourself sick?
He looks to this plum and he goes to try and eat it, but as you're watching, like he's struggling to put it in his mouth, and he's just and he puts it down and he gets up and he just puts out his hand to be taken away.
Beautiful. Okay, so Cryselia leads him back up to the deck to hang out with everybody else.
All right, you go up, you meet Coral. You got the four kids. Coral's there and yourself's there. So you start taking these little stones and shells you've collected. and start building little ships. You kind of start arranging them. You're probably using like the shells as the sails, and a little bit of dried seaweed to fasten everything together. And one of the kids is like, look at my ship. My ship is so cool. I call it the crab ship. This is crab ship.
The crab ship? That's the perfect
Mm-hmm.
name for that. Look at you. It's so good.
No, look at mine. Mine's like super cool. Mine is the seahorse ship. This is Seahorse SS Seahorse.
Look at that. That's so pretty. Oh my gosh. And Crysellia turns into a king crab just to like be playful and like snap at the kids and like make them laugh. And she does like a little like crab dance. Like she's dancing as a crab and she's also like doing little snaps with her claws to make it like music and to be funny for the kids.
They're giggling. They're like kind of running around you as you chase them a little. Um, they're having a good old time. They're making their ships. Um, and things start to quiet down now that they have these little toys that they're gonna play and annoy their parents with later. But it occupied them for the time. Uh, so you all kind of settle down. You turn back into a half elf, and you all gather around. And Coral pulls out a little book and opens it, and she just flips to the correct page. Um, so she starts to speak. So today we are visiting the hippocampus. They're like the real horses of the sea. Their front half is like a horse, and their back half is like a fish. And she shows off a little drawing from inside this book. These mighty steeds are said to have led the chariots of the mighty tempest gods when they still walked among the people like us. Excuse me, Miss Coral, Miss Coral. Yes, David. Why did the gods leave us? Well, it wasn't really their choice. Our plane separated into two. I mean, like it's separate, a lot of different planes, but it separated into the prime material and the Fey plane, and the gods had no choice but to be put in the Fey plane. But they still watch out for us. You see that seagull up there? Normally you see that there's always a bird on the ship, and that's Airdrie. She's always looking out for us, always making sure that there's no storm in our way. That's like kind of confusing, but it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, we have to remember to always respect the ocean and to always respect Airdrie as well. She makes sure that we're safe so that we can make sure that the ocean and all the animals are safe as well. That is our purpose in life, and that is why we travel all around the world on our beautiful sailing boat so that we can help the water and all the creatures that live in it to continue to preserve life and freedom.
Wow, that's like a lot of information for my mind.
It's okay, you'll get there. That's why we have to teach you guys and talk about it every single day and share our stories so that our clan will never die. We'll always be able to remember our purpose. And also, we'll be able to continue and fulfill our mission to make sure that the ocean stays beautiful and safe.
Wow, that's like really deep. I'm so excited. And Olfin's like, I'm gonna be like the biggest protector of the dolphins. That's like my mission.
Good.
So as you're kind of talking to these kids, showing off the little picture book, you hear the bell ring, and the voice of your druidic circle, Marcas, calls out, "The hippocampus have arrived!" And the kids, their eyes just get like huge. The kids scuttle up and run to the edge of the ship where people are gathering. You see your parents, Celia and Wallard. They smile to you. You look over the edge and see 5 hippocampus, just as Coral described, with the front end of a horse and the back end of a fish. Marcas,
Beautiful.
Marcas jumps into the sea and swims over to them. He bows to the hippocampus, who bow their heads in return. They come closer to him, and Marcas strokes one of their heads. It appears that he's speaking to them, and Marcas turns back to the ship. Decide among yourselves who will join us for a ride.
Oh, Crysellia's not even gonna wait. She just like jumps in there and she's like, "Oh, this me, 100% me." And she just like, even though she wasn't chosen, she's like, any excuse to swim is the best excuse to get in the water. So she just jumps right in anyways.
You kind of hear about, excuse me, can I go? Is it okay? I mean, like, Carl's like my best friend, you know. No, yeah, you two haven't gotten to do it yet. Go ahead. And Coral jumps into the water next to you. And just a few moments later, Yoris, which is a boy around your age, and one of the elderly, who, you know, this may very well be his last ride, they all hop into the water to greet the hippocampus.
Crysellia also bows her head in respect to the hippocampus and like um, approaches very respectfully and very slowly and cautiously to allow the hippocampus to also accept her because she knows that she will not get on or even touch this animal without its acceptance.
It looks to you and it acknowledges that and it bows to you and it kind of, yours a little cheeky, kind of like flicks his mane for you to get on.
Beautiful. She gets on. She's so stoked. She's ready.
So you all rise a bit out of the sea, and you start to ride the sea salt breeze rushing past your face. And you can, if you look behind, you can see the ship and everyone's smiling and waving. It's so enjoyable. This is one of your first times you've ever gotten to do one of these. You know, like you've gotten to play with the dolphins, but never before have you gotten to go out with your leader to do something as important as greeting the hippocampus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Crysellia savoring every moment of it.
Is there anything you'd like to do with your hippocampus?
Yeah, she's like, she motions like she kind of, you know how like when you're riding your horse, you kind of like have to like grip with your legs really tightly. She like grips on and she leans forward and she's like, "Would it be okay if we went underwater?" And she waits and she's prepared to like take a really deep breath in and then go for like a speed run in the underwater.
You take a deep breath and your cheeky little hippocampus just dips under the water and you're swirling around and racing and you're doing like loop de loops. And you can see like there's fish going by and they are so confused by this. But you are having a blast and you pop back out of the water um, to join everyone else again.
Beautiful. She's so excited. She's just like beaming. This is the best day of her life, one of the best days of her life. And she's so happy. And there's a huge smile on her face. And then she just kind of like flips back around so that her head is on the neck of the hippocampus. And she just starts to like bathe in the sun and the water. And she's so relaxed and happy.
You relax on the back of this hippocampus, your eyes close. You can't even contain your smile. Um, and abruptly, you are shaken off. You dip into the water, you rise back to the surface, like, what's going on? And you look around, and the hippocampus are retreating. Suddenly, a storm just appears before you. You know that you've never really gotten to encounter storms before, but you know that they don't start like this. They take time, they come in, they don't just start right where you are. So this is very unusual, especially since the Tempest God, Airdrie Fania, has protected you and your clan. Um, so you're looking around. Can you make an Arcana check for me?
Yes. 19.
You can tell immediately that this, like, what is causing this is magic and some arcane nature that you have no idea of. Um, Head back to the ship immediately, Marcas calls out. Um, You swim and you swim, but the storm is raging. You're pushed under the water and bob back up. The sky is swirling black with the faintest shocks of green. You hear a strange, strange sound. You're pushed back under the water and you push back up and return to the surface. You hear a sound of soldiers marching along. You go back under and back up several times, hearing more strange sounds of fire erupting. The sound of people partying, people laughing and screaming all at once. These sounds consume you to where you can't distinguish what they are anymore. You duck under the water to get away from them. You keep swimming, avoiding the surface unless you need air. You breach the surface again to see the Watcher of the Seas sink into the ocean.
She cries out and screams, "No!"
You look around for your parents and discover bodies floating all around you.
She starts crying instantly and she starts freaking out. She doesn't know what to do. And she's just crying and screaming and she's trying to find her parents and she's trying to see who else is around her that is alive. And she's just so hysterical. She doesn't know what to do.
Roll a perception.
18.
You're looking around, you're shaking and shaking. You're going over to different bodies. You're seeing you see Coral, you see some of the kids. You don't see everyone you know though. You can't find your parents. You do find Marcas. You The one thing in your mind though is I don't know where my parents are and I don't know where some other people are. Eventually, out of just your panic and fear, you go into shock and you succumb to the sea and black out. The next thing you remember. The next thing you remember is waking up on shore. You stumble lost to the nearest town where people there are like, oh my gosh, this is a child. This is okay. And they start to like feed you and do your best to take care of you. But just inside you, there's a pit and nothing feels right and you're not sure it ever will.
Crysellia is in like a super depression, and she's so single-minded in that she's alone and she doesn't know where her family is and she doesn't know what she's supposed to do anymore. And she's only 14, so she's freaking out. Like, she's never known anything other than to be constantly with her family, so she's really distraught that she's now separated.
One night, you sit on the docks alone, with no one to tell you to go to bed or get a good night's rest. From behind you, you hear heavy footfall. Where are your parents, girl?
She kind of looks up and is like, what? But she like looks up, doesn't say anything, and she's still like tearful.
You turn, eyes full of tears, and see a large bluish green skinned man with deep blue dreadlocks and a scruffy beard. Are are you lost?
She's really like she kind of can't keep it together. She starts crying, and she's like, I've lost my family and my home and my friends and and my goddess has abandoned me and I don't know what to do.
He stumbles over and he sits next to you, and as he sits, he's a very big man, and he sits and you kind of like go up in the air a little bit, but you're too distraught to care. And you land, and he puts his big arm around you and kind of gently pats.
And she kind of like leans into the hug really like she kind of like takes that as like a he's going to comfort her, so she like goes into it and has a hug.
I'm sorry to hear. Pray tell while you watch this sea, the beautiful sea.
Yeah, she kind of like looks out and she's like, the sea is the only thing that gives me comfort and the only thing that brings me great sadness right now.
You you say it brings you joy and sadness. It brings me joy and sadness as well. I I lost my wife in a great fight on the sea. She she meant everything to me. The most beautiful woman, brought my daughter into the world. I understand how you feel, but it is never the sea's fault. The sea is free. The sea does what it wants, and it is beautiful.
Crysellia kind of like looks up at him and she deeply understands what he's saying because she doesn't truly blame the sea. She's just so full of sadness and anger and despair, but she also still holds great respect. So she nods in acknowledgement that yes, this is true. It's not the sea's fault. Um, and she says, "I just I just don't know what to do now. I've lost everything, and now I'm just all alone, and I don't know what to do. But yes, I still love the sea, and I always will."
You know, my daughters are about your age. How about I take you aboard my ship? Neptune's Doom. Beautiful ship she is. How would you like to join us? You know, our main navigator is in need of an apprentice right now.
She kind of looks up, eyes still sparkling, but this is the only thing that she's had happen that gives her hope in since she's lost her entire family, and she just nods. She starts nodding very slowly and then very uh, enthusiastically, and she gives him another really big hug and says, "Yes, I would love that. Thank you. Please, can I come with you?"
Of course, of course. He stands up and he helps you stand. You're probably leaning on him for support right now. Um, he he actually crouches down in front of you before you start to walk, and he wipes your tears away and stands back up, and he brings you over to the ship, which is just a mighty and beautiful ship, um, pretty much as brilliant as uh, Watchers of the Sea. And he turns to you before guiding you up the ramp. We can never replace your family, but we will love you all the same. And he brings you up onto the ship.
And Crysellia is looking at everything in awe, and she's so excited to be back on a boat. She's still very mournful, and she kind of like the first thing that she wants to do is go to the bow, um, and just look out. And she kind of like goes and she swings her legs over, and she's like sitting on the ledge of the deck, and she kind of says like a silent prayer out to her family, and um, just like sends all these good vibes, and uh, kind of like makes a promise to herself that she will try and find the rest of her family and the rest of her clan, but she's not going to let this depression continue, and she decides that she's going to live a happy life and do her best and do everything that she can to return whoever survived to her. And she kind of like releases that, and she kind of wipes away her tears, and she's so excited that she has a new not a new family, but a new group of people that she can enjoy her days with and perhaps become her new family without replacing the old one. And she kind of has like a very small little smile on her face as she kind of like wipes away her tears, and her promise to herself will stand.
From from behind, you feel a little tap on your shoulder, and you turn around and you see a girl about your age and another girl who just seems your age or just a little younger. Um, the first girl who tapped you has this deep blue hair and silvery bluish skin, um, and she's holding out a little tray of chocolate covered strawberries. And the girl behind is this blue skinned, silvery haired air genasi with a glass eye and a scar going down it. And she's got chocolate on her mouth. And the girl holding out the tray is like, my father told me about you and Coral, and I wanted to come say hello. There would have been more strawberries, but Coral seems to like to eat them, and from behind you just see, like, she's probably still got some in her mouth, and she's just kind of embarrassed looking down at the ground, and she waves.
And Crysellia just waves back with her little smile. It's just kind of like a very little smile. And she's just like, that's okay. Thank you very much for bringing these over. Um, yeah, it's nice to meet you. And she takes one and she like starts to eat one as well.
Elmira, as you find out to be the girl's name, puts down the tray and she sits on the deck next to you, and so does Koro. And you, I don't think you go to sleep that night. I think the three of you just talk. Nothing in particular, but you just enjoy each other's company.
And Crysellia really enjoys this. She's like kind of starting to like, as just they're talking and hanging out, she kind of starts reminiscing as well silently to herself, um, that this is what she used to do with her friend Coral. And she kind of has like a little lump in her throat as she continues, but she doesn't like, it's like a happy reminiscing rather than like a really really sad, um, like about to cry again kind of thing. And she's just really hopeful and excited that she's now going back onto the ocean and having her new adventure.